Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Check mic. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, we're going to get started in about 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes.
Real quick, everyone, we're going to save questions till the end. This time, you guys have all been here for these before. Questions till the end. We're going to have some of our personnel talk. A member of the DeKalb County DA's office will talk. We do have some supporting roles that are not, they're going to be behind us, but they're not going to have a talking role today. But this is Fulton County DA's office and the DeKalb County Police Department. We have representatives from them as well. But the questions, the people speaking will be a lieutenant from our department, an investigator, and then the DeKalb County DA's office. All right.
And also, we'll give everybody names to spell in the title.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be a photo release. We're going to send that to your desks afterwards. So I think they are going to have it posted, but don't worry, we're going to get you that as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Butler with the Special Victims Unit Commander. What brings us here today is a case that originated from a missing persons call and led into a very intense human trafficking investigation. The background that we have is that a 911 call was made about a missing person, a missing child, and upon that we located a female. And from there, Investigator Lewis spearheaded this investigation, and it turned into a multi-jurisdictional investigation to include DeKalb County PD, DeKalb District Attorney's Office, and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. So I'd like to turn it over to Investigator Lewis, who spearheaded the investigation, for more of the details.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you all coming out. My name is Investigator Tracy Lewis, Tracy-Lewis. I am an investigator with the City of Atlanta Police Department Special Victims Unit, COPS Unit. That is C as in Charlie, E-O-P as in Paul, S, and the FBI Match Task Force. On February the 29th, Atlanta police officers were dispatched to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta in reference to a call of a 15-year-old female that had been reported missing, but they have recently recovered. Myself and my counterpart, Investigator Franklin, we arrived at Hughes Spalding, where we interviewed the young lady in reference to her whereabouts and what had happened with her. She was able to provide details stating that she had been trafficked. She had been reported missing back in February. And this is now when she was reported missing back in December, all the way up until February. She was able to provide us names of the suspects, which were the traffickers, as well as that evening, we were able to obtain the identification of one of the traffickers that was holding her. trafficking situation was located where she was being held was, again, it was in DeKalb as well as in Atlanta. It started in DeKalb County, and then she was then transported to Atlanta. During this time that she outlined everything, she identified one suspect at the moment as being Albert Wells, and she accused him of trafficking her for sexual servitude. During a forensic interview, she mentioned a similar, she was speaking to us about what was going on with her, and she was providing more information. During this interview, the forensic interviewer found out that there was she remembered a case where she interviewed another young lady who was also a trafficking victim, and she was able to link these two cases together. She then in turn got me in contact with Detective Benton and Detective Marison with the DeKalb County DA's office and DeKalb County Police Department, and from that, the investigation began to come together. It was determined during this joint investigation that the victim, as well as possibly 3 other victims, were trafficked by these men that we have in custody at this moment in time. It was determined that these sexual servitude trafficking situations took place in DeKalb County, firmly in DeKalb County, and firmly in Fulton County. At this time, with the assistance of Detective Benton and Detective Merson with the DeKalb County PD's office and DeKalb County DA's office, we established a link to these subjects as well as to the victim. The subjects that we have in custody at this moment in time are Albert Wells, Eugene Smith, Talbot Blunt, and also subsequently during our investigation, we determined there was another male that was charged, and his name is Levi Sears. At this moment in time, the main focus that we're having this press conference is to shed light on that we have one more outstanding suspect. That suspect's name is Harold Poole, Harold, P as in Paul, Oole. If anyone knows the whereabouts of Mr. Harold Poole, please call 911 or either Atlanta Police Crime Stoppers, and you can get you can call anonymously or for a possible award up to $2,000. The phone number for Crime Stoppers is 404-844-TIPS. 404-844-TIPS. This does remain to be an ongoing investigation. Like I said, we do have other victims out here that we're going to have to speak to and get them to identify our subjects. Anything pertaining to charges, the Public Affairs Office will speak to you all about these gentlemen's specific charges. I want to take a moment out for a moment and just want to thank our partners with this investigation and with any other human trafficking investigation that we have. Just want everyone to know that local law enforcement and nationwide law enforcement, we are working together very profusely to stop this trafficking issues that we have in this country. I want to thank for this case specifically DeKalb County DA's office, the DeKalb County Police Department, as well as the Center for Child Advocacy, and the Department of Family and Children Services, and the FBI. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Casey Benson. I'm an investigator in the office of the DeKalb County District Attorney Sherry Boston. I'm honored to stand here this morning with our law enforcement partners who have worked tirelessly on this case to rescue the victim in this case and to identify and arrest those who are accused of exploiting this victim for their own gain. This case is a prime example of why it's critical that law enforcement prioritize human trafficking investigations. Traffickers prey on the most vulnerable people in our community, people who oftentimes feel like they have no one to trust and nowhere to turn. I've worked in the DeKalb County District Attorney's office for 2 years now, but recently I've moved to a position that is solely dedicated to human trafficking and internet crimes against children. Our office recognized the critical need to address these types of crimes, and thanks to a federal grant I am proud to say that every day I get to work with law enforcement agencies across DeKalb County, including DeKalb Police and Atlanta Police, to stop traffickers and abusers from victimizing people in our communities. Traffickers don't just operate in one city or one county. In fact, they oftentimes move their victims from place to place in an effort to hide from law enforcement. Traffickers, that's why it's so important to have these partnerships. And today, we stand united to send a message to traffickers that if you victimize people in our community, we will find you, we will stop you, and we will hold you accountable. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming out today. The last thing I want to make very clear is that this press conference is not just to highlight the accolades of our investigation. This is also to show and shed light on that we're looking for this gentleman, Mr. Harold Poole. He is outstanding. He does have warrants for his arrest pertaining to this case. And then again, if anyone has any information pertaining to Mr. Harold Poole's whereabouts, they can contact 911 or they can contact the Atlanta Crime Stoppers at 404-577-TIPS, and they can remain anonymous. Thank you so much for your time. Yes.
Can you give us the ages of the other victims?
At this time, I don't have their ages, but they range from ages of 14 to 16 years old.
To 16?
16.
Investigator, can you walk us through how they would operate? How would they get these girls?
So a lot of these young ladies, unfortunately, and young men, they are already in foster care or in the foster care systems. But that's not always how we get our victims. We have victims. There are also children that are at home every day with their parents. We have a big issue with social media these days. They're recruiting from social media. They're also having their friends and their counterparts that are in school with them recruit them as well. So it's just depending on which situation you're referring to, it's always different on how they're being recruited.
So would you describe this as a sex trafficking ring? Is there multiple victims other than these three that you've identified that you think maybe are still out there, or?
As of right now, the only thing that we know of is the 3 victims that are remaining that we need to speak with. If we determine later on in our investigation that there are more, then we'll expand it further.
You said 3 victims you need to speak with. You haven't identified them yet?
No, we have identified them, but we just need to speak with them.
When you talk about them being lured on social media, the boys and girls who fall victim to these people, I know they're not just saying, hey, come work for me, I'm gonna put you to work having sex with strangers. What is that message that lures these otherwise, sort of lost or good kids into being victimized this way? How are they targeting them so effectively?
So it's like with most of us that were teenagers once upon a time. You lure them in with freedom, partying. They can come and party with them, hang out. A lot of times you have subjects that are trying to become their boyfriends. They start off being nice and buying them things and everything, showing them love and affection, and then all of a sudden they have to start proving their love. Or either it turns into a situation to where they just come back one day from getting them something to eat and they just began beating them and just telling them that they're going to do this. So it's many different varieties of ways that traffickers do these things to these young men and young women.
And are these people being held against their will, forced, held in one place, not allowed to leave? Or is it...
So when it comes down to children, children really don't have the ability to say, like, I want to go or I want to leave. They don't have the means to say, okay, I'm just going to get in a cab or I'm going to leave. They're children. So 18 and below, those are what we consider children. They don't have the ability to just say, I'm just going to leave and that's going to be okay. There also being threats of violence, that if they do return home and they do tell, that things will happen to them. So freedom is not a situation that these people are encountering when it comes down to these traffickers.
So investigator, it must have been awfully courageous of this 15-year-old to make this decision to call 911. Were you able to give us any insight to what was going through her head to make her say enough is enough?
Well, she actually went to a place of refuge, and the person that she went to seek refuge from was actually very nice to her and actually called 911 for her. And we want to thank her as well. But during this investigation, she was absolutely wonderful. She's a very sweet young lady. She has a big future ahead of her. We just pray that she'll be okay from this. The other part is that she was very, very knowledgeable about what was going on. She made sure that she remembered things and stuff like that. She was excellent. She remembered tag numbers and stuff like that. And it's because she watches crime shows. She told us this because she watches crime shows. So she kind of tried to remember things. So just in case if something happened to her, we will be able to find out who did it and where she was.
So was she was, these victims were held without their will, but she was able to escape the home to get to a place of refuge to call 911?
Yes.
Okay.
Have any of these suspects showed up on your radar before?
No. No, sir. They have not been, none of these suspects did we have any knowledge about.
Are they all Atlanta and DeKalb residents? Do they live further out?
So, none of them are Atlanta residents per se. One, Mr. Smith, had an apartment here in Atlanta where the victim was being trafficked out of, but however, he has been since evicted from that location, and he was living in DeKalb. But none of them have Atlanta addresses whatsoever.
How many locations have you all identified that have been used as trafficking sites?
So we have identified specifically 2 locations, one in Atlanta and one in DeKalb County. There are other locations where the young ladies would go and they would have to meet with the parties, such as truck stops, gas stations, inside stores, and things like that, to where they would have to service these gentlemen for sexual pleasures for money.
Last question.
Do you have any idea about how long they had, this group had been doing this, beyond the most recent case of the 15-year-old?
No, we don't.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.